What is up, guys? Emmanuel Jones here, and we back at with another video. And this time we'll be doing our 2024 NFL Power Rankings for this season. So before I get started, don't forget to put a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe to my channel for more options, and don't forget to comment down your opinion below to see who you think's gonna win. Who you think? Where would you rank your favorite team at? So we're gonna get started here. Ranking from worst to we're going to rank the teams from worst to best. Now, the team that I think is going to be the worst team in the NFL this year is going to be the Denver Broncos. And the reason why the Broncos are going to be the worst team in the league is because they got rid of Russell Wilson, and then you traded for Zach Wilson from the Jets. And you also drafted a quarterback in the first round on Bo Nix, which I don't know how good Bo Nix is going to be. Because I don't really know, because I haven't really watched him play football. But I just kind of really think that, Bo Nix, I don't know if he has upsides. Like, I don't know how good he's going to be. Now, they do have a little talent now. Javonte Williams, is a stud at running back. And I feel like he can have a breakout season. The receiving core looks a little bit iffy. Marvin Mims is coming off of a rookie season. He could definitely have a breakout season. Cortland Sutton is a stud. They also drafted a receiver in the second round, Troy Franklin. So they got some good wide receivers, but I just don't think the offense will be as good as it used to be. And then the offensive line is a little iffy. They don't really have much at tight end. The defense, you could say is pretty good. John Franklin Myers was a really good move. And they still got some more studs on defense like DJ Jones, Zach Allen. You also drafted one in the mid rounds as well. Linebacker is a bit concerning. Secondary, they still got Patrick Surtain, and you lost Justin Simmons, and they don't really have much talent there. So I feel like the Denver Broncos, they still got Sean Payton as a head coach. So I feel like the Broncos, are probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league because due to the quarterback position. Number 31, I got the New York Giants, and the reason why I got the New York Giants ranked at 31 is I'm kind of a little concerned of the Giants. I think the Giants kind of have some upside. I feel like Daniel Jones has a little upside because, he missed the rest of the season due to a knee injury. Hope he can stay healthy. I feel like he could be a good quarterback. Now, they could be in quarterback competition because we don't know who's going to start. Either Drew Lock or it's going to be Daniel Jones, which I don't know. And then, the Giants, have lost a few pieces on offense. They lost Saquon, and you replace him with Devin Singletary. And then, the receiving core, I think they can get better with. I feel like I like Malik Neighbors coming out of the draft. I feel like he could be a really good number one wide receiver. And I feel like they have other receivers too, like Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, and guys like that. And they also added Allen Robinson in the roster. So I feel like the Giants receiving core I feel like they did revamp their receiving core. And then, I'm not sure about Darren Waller. I don't know if he's going to come back this year. But if he does, I feel like the Giants offense can be explosive because I know they drafted a tight end in the mid rounds, which that was a good move. Now, the offensive line, it was pretty bad last year. I feel like they can revamp it, but I feel like, their offensive line is still pretty good. The defense, line. Defense is totally pretty good after trading for Brian Burns. Linebackers is group is okay. With Bobby Okereke and Azeez Ojulari. And then the secondary, I feel like Deonte Banks had a good rookie season. I feel like he can step up to be a CB1. They lost McKinney. I don't know why they let him go. They replaced him with Newman through the draft. And then also Isaiah Simmons, he's still there, and they switched him to safety. So the Giants do have a lot of pieces, though, and especially they got Brian Daboll still as a head coach. Now, the defensive coordinator, they don't Martindale, Wink Martindale, he left. Because, he only left because, they had to move on from him. So he left and they replaced him with the defense coordinator, which I don't really think the Giants defense. I don't really know how good the Giants defense will be because I don't think they really did much this offseason. So that's why I put them at 31. Number 30, I got the Washington Commanders, and the reason why I got the Commanders at 30 is because I feel like the Commanders did made a lot of improvements to get better. They drafted Jaden Daniels in the first round because they got rid of Sam Howell. And then you also got the skill group on offense that they had. I mean, Austin Eckler was a really good move for them. They got rid of Antonio Gibson. They replaced him with Austin Eckler. Then Brian Robinson, he's a good running back. And then you got the receivers, though with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dawson. They're both studs. They also added Zach Ertz through free agency. So yeah, so they got a really good receiving core right there. And then, the offensive line, needs improvement. I don't think is as good. The defense, is starting to get a little better because, you lost Montez Sweat because you traded Montez Sweat and Jace Young away. And you also replaced them with Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler and Kleinland Furrow. So, yeah. And then you also drafted one in the mid rounds in Newton, which I like coming out of the draft, to go along with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. So their defensive line is pretty strong, and the linebacking group is pretty good. They also added Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, which that could be a really good linebacking duo. And then, the secondary, it's kind of shaky, but they did make improvements. Davis was a great move. Jeremy Chin was a great move. I have questions at corner because, they lost Kendall Fuller in free agency, but I don't know if Forbes can really step up his role. I like to see Forbes step up his role. That's what I like to see. And, you got Dan Quinn working with the defense after getting rid of Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. And then, Eric Bieniemy left. So I feel like Washington, have made many moves, but I don't even know. But just despite the moves, I don't think that makes them any better, but that can really make them better for the future. So, yeah, I like to see how good Jaden Daniels can be. So, yeah. Number 29, I have the Carolina Panthers. And the Carolina Panthers, I feel like they're probably going to be better than you think because the Panthers kind of really made some moves. Because if you look at the moves that they made, they traded for Deontay Johnson and they drafted Xavier Legette in the first round to go along with Adam Thielen. Because, Terrence Marshall and Jonathan Mingle wasn't able to step up their role. So I feel like the Panthers receiving core has definitely gotten a lot better. And then you also drafted a tight end in the mid rounds and Jata and Sanders, which I really like. You also drafted a running back in the mid rounds too in Jonathan Brooks. So I feel like Bryce Young can definitely be better than last year because he has good weapons around him. Now the offensive line did make improvements by having Robert Hunt, which I really like. Now the defense, they're very competitive in every spot, but they lost like two of their best players in Brian Burns and Frankie Louvu. I mean, Derek Brown's a stud at the edge rusher position. They also added Jadeveon Clowney in free agency. Linebacking group is a little suspect outside of Shaq Thompson, which he's a really good player. Chason is really good. The secondary, they still got J.C. Horn. And, they still need a lot of work on defense, though. I feel like, Evero can step it up because they added Dave Canales because I feel like he can definitely be a really good offensive coach. So, yeah. So, I think the Panthers, could be better than you think, but I don't even know. I feel like they can make them better in the future, though. Because I feel like Bryce Young can have an upside. I feel like he can improve. So, yeah. So, I got the Panthers at 29. Number 28, I got the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, are very interesting, though. I think the Cardinals, are going to be a very interesting team. I think the Arizona Cardinals, have upside. I feel like Kyler has some upsides, and I'm ranking him up higher because I feel like Kyler's too good of a quarterback because he's coming off an injury, and then you got some talent on offense right now because James Conner's a stud. They also drafted one in the mid rounds. They also drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., who was like the best receiver coming out of the draft, and you pair him up with Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. So I felt the Cardinals receiving core is really good, and I mean you got Trey McBride who was really good last year. I feel like he can be a stud at tight end. They also added Zay Jones through free agency, so they got good elements of their offense, and the offensive line is pretty good. And now the defense, I'm really concerned about the defense because I feel like the defense. I don't know if they improve enough because I feel like Jonathan Gannon, he can do a lot of work there. Now, they did make some nice moves. They added Murphy and Robinson through the draft. And I don't know who they have. Like Justin Jones, I feel like he's more of a backup. Mac Wilson was a good signing, but he's more of a backup. Kaiser White is too. BJ, now linebacking group is fine. Now BJ Ojulari, is pretty good. He's coming off a rookie season. I feel like he could be a really good edge rusher. Zaven Collins, is pretty good. He's a stud at linebacker. Secondary, I'm not sure about the corner position, but Sean Murphy Bunting was a good signing. Safeties, Jalen Thompson is still there. Buda Baker's still there. I'm not sure about the secondary, but I feel like the defense is a little concerning, a little bit, because I don't really think the defense, I don't even know the defense is good enough to be a top team in the NFC. Like I don't think it's good enough to be in a top team in the NFC. So that's why I got the Cardinals ranked at 28. Number 27, I got the New England Patriots, and the reason why I got the Patriots ranked at 27 is because I think the Patriots are going to improve. Because you also drafted a quarterback in Drake May, who I really like. I thought he could be a really good quarterback with this team. And after getting rid of Mac Jones, now the Patriots do have some weapons on offense, but I have questions about the offense. Now Gerard Mayo is really good with the defense. I feel like he can make improvements on it. I mean the offense is probably gotten a little bit better. They added Antonio Gibson in free agency to go along with Ramondre Stevenson. And then you got the receivers, They also drafted Javon Baker and Jalen Polk in the first round. And then they also added KJ Osborne to go along with Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Demario Douglas, and Kendrick Bourne. Because most of the receivers didn't really step up their role. Now, the tight ends, you lost Mike Gesicki, but you brought back Hunter Henry, which that's really good. Now, the offensive line can get a little better, but, they lost their tackle in Trent Brown. But I still think the offensive line is pretty good. Defense, they brought back Christian Barmore. And I feel like they can get better because they brought back Christian Barmore and signed him to a contract. They still got Wise and White there. They still got Uche and Matt Judon, who's coming off an injury. Linebacking position is really good because Jawan Bentley is a stud. Secondary, Christian Gonzalez is coming off of a rookie season, but he missed the rest of the year due to an injury. But I feel like he can definitely step up to be a CB1. They brought back Kyle Duggar. Jonathan Jones is really good. Marcus Jones should be coming off an injury. He should be back. He can really turn to a really good corner. They still got Peppers there. So the Patriots got a little talent on defense, and I feel like their secondary is strong, and I feel like their defense is pretty strong as well. So I feel like the Patriots could be better than they were last year. But I could easily say the Patriots can at least win at least like 6 to 7 games. But I'd be surprised if they made a playoff push. So yeah. All right, next team, 26, the Tennessee Titans. And I feel like the Titans, got some could be better than last year. I feel like Will Levis has a lot of upside. I feel like he can get better. I feel like he could be better than he was last year because I feel like most of the games he showed a lot of good. And then you got because the Titans, have really had their best offseason. I wish I would have ranked them up a little higher because I felt the Titans really had a really good offseason, making improvements. Um, they lost Derrick Henry and they replaced him with Tony Pollard at running back to go along with Tyjae Spears. And then the receiving core, you definitely revamped it by adding Tyler Boyd in free agency and Calvin Ridley to go along with DeAndre Hopkins because Traylon Burks wasn't able to step up his role. But the tight end is fine. Now, the offensive line, I feel like it did improve a little bit because you added a tackle in the first round, which that was really good. Now, the defense is pretty good because Jeffrey Simmons is a stud. I mean, they added Sebastian Joseph Day, and then linebackers are really strong because you added Kenneth Murray to go along with Harold Landry. The secondary is pretty strong. It's gotten better because they traded for Sneed, and you also added Woozy in free agency. Caleb Farley, I mean, he's still there. They still got Amani Hooker. So yeah, so I felt the Titans' defense got a lot better, and I felt their offense kind of got a lot better this season. But it kind of really makes them better for the future. But I don't know if it's gonna make them. I don't know if they're gonna be able to be better than they were because you got teams because I feel like the Titans are kind of in a tough division because I feel like the Colts might get better, the Texans might get better, and the Jags might get better. So I don't know how's that going to work for Tennessee because they got a new coach in Brian Callahan who's working with the offense. So yeah, so I don't know how it's going to work for Tennessee. All right, number 25, I got the Las Vegas Raiders. I got the Raiders ranked at 25 because I feel like that the Raiders got better this offseason because they didn't really draft a quarterback this year, but you know what? They lost Jimmy Garoppolo, and he also replaced him with Gardner Minshew. I feel like Gardner Minshew, he can. I feel like he can provide hope. I think he's gonna show a lot of good. I feel like Aiden O'Connell, some games he showed a lot of good, but I think he kind of fell apart. Now the Raiders, they really got some good weapons on offense because the offense can get a lot better. I feel like Devontae Adams, he's a stud. Jacoby Myers is a stud. They also drafted a tight end in the second round. They drafted one in the first round with and Brock Bowers to go along with Michael Mayer. And then they also added Jalen Guyton and Michael Gallup in free agency. So I feel like the Raiders receiving core is really good. I mean, the running back position is kind of suspect after losing Josh Jacobs, but you just replace him with Alexander Madison to go on with Zamir White. So yeah, the offensive line is pretty good. The defense, they did improve a little bit because they added Christian Wilkins in free agency to go along with Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson. Now, Tyree Wilson, he wasn't able to step up his rookie season, but I feel like he's about to step up for a breakout season. Byron Young is still there. Malcolm Cousins is still there as well. So the Raiders' defensive line is pretty strong. Linebacking group is pretty good. I mean, it's outside. I mean, I don't think the linebacking group is any good outside of Spillane. I feel like Spillane, he's a stud at linebacker. The secondary, I don't think it's as good, but I feel like the Raiders' defense played a lot better at the end of the year when Antonio Pierce coaching it. So I feel like, Jack Jones is still there. I feel like he can be a stud at corner. Nate Hobbs is still there. I like to see him step up his role. Mo Hurk is there. He can step up his role. They got Marcus Epps. I mean, the Raiders secondary is pretty young, but I feel like the Raiders defense, they can get a lot better. So yeah, I feel like the Raiders can definitely be a better team than last year. Like I can definitely see them winning at least like because I feel like they can at least win like 8 games like they did like last year. I can definitely see that. I don't think they really have the ceiling of the Chargers, but I feel like the Raiders can definitely be better than they were last year. Number 424, I got the Minnesota Vikings, and the reason why I got the Vikings ranked at 24 is because I kind of really felt the Vikings are probably going to take another step back because they lost Kirk Cousins in free agency. They also replaced him with JJ McCarthy coming out of the draft, which I really like. But a lot of people saying that he's overrated because he carried the team to win the championship. So yeah. Now the Vikings, made improvements, especially on offense. They added, they lost Alexander Madison. They replaced him with Aaron Jones. And then, you got like two. They also got a really good receiving group. Justin Jefferson's a stud. Jordan Addison, he had a good rookie season. I feel like he can definitely step up his role to be a really good slot receiver. TJ Hawkinson's a stud. They also got N'Keal Harry there. And then Powell's really good. So the Vikings got a lot of good weapons on offense. Now the offensive line is kind of a little suspect. I feel like they can definitely get a lot better. I feel like they can definitely get better. And I mean the defense, they lost some Daniil Hunter and then they replaced him with Greener, which that was a really good move. I mean Ward was a good move, Tillery was a good move. Harrison Smith, I mean he's still there. So I felt the Vikings defense kind of gotten a lot better, and they also added Vin Gingle in free agency, which that and Cashman. I mean that was a really good move at linebacker, and then the secondary kind of needs improvement. I like to see him improve at corner a little bit. Safety is fine. I mean Bynum is there, and then Harrison Smith is there. Byron Murphy, I don't know if he's a good number one corner, but I feel like they need to improve the corner position spot. Because, they got Brian Flores coaching the defense. Because, I just kind of really feel like that, the personnel may not be there. And, the personnel will be there with Kevin O'Connell coaching the offense. But I feel like the personnel may not be there for Minnesota on the defensive side of the ball. But I kind of felt the defense did play a lot better in some of the games. And some of the games, they kind of fell apart. So, yeah, I think the Vikings, I think they need at least like I say at least give him at least like one more year, and then get him back to the playoffs. So yeah, that's why I got, and especially the Vikings, they're gonna be in a tough position, be in a tough division, 'cause I feel like that the Bears have gotten better, the Lions have gotten better, and the Packers have gotten better. So yeah, so I don't know how the Vikings are gonna be able to do it. All right, number 23, I got the Saints, and the reason why I got the Saints at 23 is because I feel like New Orleans, I don't know if they're gonna be good enough to be a top team in the NFC because they got Derek Carr at quarterback, which I don't think he's a bit overrated, and yeah, the Saints, they got Dennis Allen, and I don't know if he's any good, but they lost their offensive coordinator and replaced somebody better. And I don't know who's coaching the defense. I don't know. Dennis Allen's probably coaching the defense. And then, I mean, the Saints got a lot of talent. Alvin Kamara is a stud. Jamal Williams is a stud. And then the receiving group, Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are studs at the receiver position. They also added Cedric Wilson for agency, which I really like. Because, they got rid of Michael Thomas. And then, the tight end position is really good. Jawan Johnson is a stud. Monroe, I mean, he's a really good number 2 tight end, but he's not really number 1 tight end. Now, the offensive line did get a little better by drafting a tackle in the first round, which I really, really like. Um, the def the defense, gotten a lot better because they added Chase Young in free agency to go along with Cameron Jordan and Brian Brees. I feel like Brian Brees is coming off his first year. I feel like he can definitely step up to be a really good good defensive linemen. I like to see him have a breakout season. Um, the linebacking group did improve by adding Willie Gay to go along with Demario Davis and Pete Werner. So yeah, so their linebackers and defensive line gotten better. Now the secondary has definitely gotten a lot better because they added McKinstry in the second round to go along with Marshawn Lattimore because I feel like Alontae Taylor wasn't able to step up his role. The safety position with Matthew is fine. I mean, the Saints got a lot of good talent on defense and on offense, but I don't know if it's going to make them any better, but I think it can make them better for the future. But I can definitely see a spot where we can definitely see the Saints, win a division and be a playoff team, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. Because I feel like they got to deal with the Falcons and they got to deal with the Bucks. Cause I feel like the Falcons gotten a lot better this offseason. And the Panthers gotten a little better, and I feel like the Bucks have gotten a little better too. So yeah. Number 22, I got the Los Angeles Chargers. And the reason why I got the Chargers ranked at 22 is because I think the Chargers, I feel the Chargers are going to improve this year because I kind of really feel like, the Chargers, they're probably going to at least take another step back because, I know they got Jim Harbaugh as a coach to replace Brandon Stanley. I feel like Jim Harbaugh is an upgrade over Stanley. But I think, the Chargers, may not be the same team like they were years before because, they lost Mike Williams in free agency. They lost Austin Eckler in free agency. They traded Keenan Allen away. I mean, they were getting close to almost getting rid of some of their star players due to due to them having cap issues. But they replaced the running backs though with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, which I don't know if they're going to be studs at the running back position. The receiving group is a little iffy. Quentin Johnson was a bust last year. I like to see him have a breakout season. They also drafted one in the second round in McConkey. Josh Palmer is still there. They also added Brandon Rice in the third round. The tight end position, Hayden Hurst. I don't really like tight end position, but they added G.J. Chark. So the wide receiving group is kind of a little iffy, but I feel like it can get a lot better. The offensive line is really strong. They also added a first round tackle. The defense, is they still got Khalil Mack and they still got Joey Bosa. I mean, yeah. And then, Morgan Fox is still there. Ford is there. The linebacking group is really good. They brought back Denzel Perryman. The secondary, they did make improvement by adding Fulton to go along with Asante Samuel, and because they lost Michael Davis, Derwin James is stud. So they got a little bit of good elements to their defense, but I don't know how good the offense is going to be under Justin Herbert and James Harbaugh. So I just have questions about the Chargers coming into this year. So yeah. And then number 21, I got the Indianapolis Colts. And the reason why I got the Colts at 21 is because I got them ranked higher than the Chargers because I feel like that the Colts, have gotten a lot better this offseason because, they added – because, I feel like Anthony Richardson has some upside. And, the offense is pretty good and Shane Steichen calling plays. And then, I just kind of really feel like, the offense can get a lot better because, especially in the passing game because they also drafted a wide receiver in who I really like in A.D. Mitchell in the second round to go along with Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, which I feel like A.D. Mitchell can be a really good receiver with this team because I feel like Alec Pierce, he wasn't able to step up his role. He was a good number 3, and Josh Downs was a good number 2 wide receiver last year. And Michael Pittman had a breakout season last year. And I feel like he's the number 1. I feel like A.D. Mitchell, I feel like he can definitely be that number 2 if Josh Downs don't step up. So, yeah. So, I feel like the Colts got a lot of good elements of their offense, especially their offensive line is pretty strong. The tight end position, I really don't like. I feel like they can improve it a little bit. And they still got Jonathan Taylor, who is a stud at running back. The defense, has gotten better, though. Because, they also added a first rounder in Latu to go along with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, who they brought back, and Kwity Paye. Davis coming out of the Dolphins, that was a good move. So I thought the defensive line has gotten better. The linebacking group is kind of suspect. Now, Zyler Franklin's a stud. The secondary, I don't know if it's any good, but they still got they got Juju Brent. I don't know if he's able to step up his role as the number one corner. I feel like he could be really good as a number one corner. Kenny Moore is a stud. Julian Blackman, they brought him back. So I feel like the Colts defense, they got a lot of good elements with their defense, but I don't know if Gus Bradley is anything special. So yeah, I think the Colts, I feel like they can get better. I feel like they're going to be better than they were than last year because I feel like the Colts, because I feel like they could definitely make this play. They could make a playoff push if long as Anthony Richardson can stay healthy. I think they can make this team to a playoff push. Because last year, even though when he was hurt, Gardner Minshew has showed a lot of good. So yeah, so I feel like the Colts can definitely be better than last year. I can definitely see them at least win like 10 or 11 games, or else I can definitely see them taking the AFC South crown. Like, who knows? All right, number 20, I got the Seattle Seahawks, and I got the Seahawks at 20s because I feel like Seattle, missed out on the playoffs last year, and I feel like they're going to be a better team than last year because Geno Smith. Because they got Geno Smith at the quarterback position. The running back is really good. He's coming off a rookie season, Kenneth Walker. And then you got really good receivers too in DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Jackson and Jigaba Smith kind of had a good rookie season. I feel like he can definitely step up to be a really good number two if Tyler Lockett doesn't step up. And the tight end position is kind of suspect, but I like Noah Fant. So they got good elements of their offense. The offensive line is really good. They added Thompson for agency. Defensive line is pretty good because they added Byron Murphy through the draft to go along with Leonard Williams and Jerron Reed and Uchenna Wilson, who's coming off an injury. I feel like if he can stay healthy, he could be a really good pass rusher. The linebacker position is pretty good because they lost Bobby Wagner and they replaced him with Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dodson. The secondary is pretty strong because Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen are studs at corner. The safety position is pretty good. Julian Love had a really good season. Now they definitely lost Jamal Adams and Quadra Diggs for agency, which if they bring back Jamal Adams, that'll be really perfect. But I think the Seahawks really do have some talent on defense, especially with them losing Pete Carroll. I feel like Mike McDonald is the new role who's coaching the defense, and the offensive coordinator, I don't even know who that is. So yeah, I think the Seahawks can definitely be better than they were last year. So I can definitely see them like 10 or 11 wins this year. So yeah. All right, number 19, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason why I got the Jaguars at number 19 is because I think the Jaguars, I feel like Jacksonville, has definitely made some improvements this offseason. They also traded for Mac Jones at the quarterback position, which I feel like he's basically a backup because I don't think he's anything special. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is better than him. And they got a good talent on offense now. Travis Etienne is a stud. The receiving core is still really good despite them losing Calvin Ridley. They still got Christian Kirk, who's a stud. They added Gabe Davis, and then they also added Brian Thomas through the draft. And they also added Devin Duvernay for agency. So the receiving core is really strong. And also Evan Ingram's a stud. Now the offensive, so they got good elements of their offense. Now the offensive line can get better, but I don't know if it's anything special. But the defense is pretty good because they made improvements. They also added Eric Armstead from the 49ers, and they also added Darnell Savage from Green Bay. So yeah, so the defense is gotten a lot better, and especially Roy, he's a stud. They brought back Josh Allen, who's a stud. Um, The linebacking group is really good. Now, Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd and Foyce, they're both studs at linebackers. Secondary, Tyson Campbell is a stud. Andre Sisco's a stud. They also lost Jenkins for agency, and Darius Williams, but they also added Ronald Darby to replace him. So they got good elements of their defense and their offense. But I just kind of feel like Jacksonville could be a little bit overrated because they kind of fell apart a little bit. But I feel like they got the Texans and the Colts who they're going to deal with, and the Titans because they gotten a lot better. Those teams got better. I feel like the AFC South can definitely be the best in division due to improvements. So yeah, so I could definitely see Jacksonville, take a step forward this year because I feel like no, I feel like they can at least win at least like 10 or 11 or 12 games this year. That's what I could see. So yeah. All right, number 18. Um I got the Atlanta Falcons at 18. The reason why I got the Falcons going at number 18 is because I think the Falcons, are going to be better than they were last year because, they upgraded the quarterback position by getting Kirk Cousins because I feel like Kirk Cousins is an upgrade over Ritter. And you also, they also added some weapons on offense to go along with Drake London and Kyle Pitts because I feel like they're studs at the wide receiver and tight end position. They added Darnell Mooney from the Bears. They added Rondell Moore from the Cardinals. They also added Ray McLeod. So, yeah. So, I felt that the receiving core of Atlanta can get better. And then they got the running back positions, too. Because, they got Bijan Robinson, who's coming off a rookie season. And Tyler Algier is a good running back, too. So, yeah. Then the offensive line is really good. The defense, I'm concerned about their defensive line because, outside of Grady Jarrett may not be as good, but they got David Onyemanya. But I feel like if they bring back Calais Campbell, I think that can definitely help their run defense get better. The linebacking group is really good. Caden Ellis is a stud. They got Lorenzo Carter. So yeah, so the Falcons and then Bell Dupree is still there. So I feel like the Falcons are kind of losing a little bit of talent on defense, which I don't really, and especially the secondary, is pretty strong. Jesse Bates is a stud. They added Kevin King and Mike Hughes, and AJ Terrell is a stud at corner. So yeah, so the Falcons, they got some studs at the D. They got a lot of studs on defense. They got a few studs on defense, but they got a lot of elements of their offense as well. Which I'm just concerned about the defense, but the offense is really good. But I just don't know how if the Falcons are going to be able to be a really good team with this defense because I feel like their defense can definitely make improvements, and especially they drafted Michael Penix in the first round, which I feel like he could be the future for this team for years to come if Kirk Cousins leaves. So yeah, I put the Falcons ranked at 18 because I feel like Atlanta can definitely be win the division. I can definitely see them winning division this upcoming season because they're favored to be contenders. But we don't know. We'll have to find out. Number 17, I got Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now I feel like the Buccaneers have definitely made the playoffs last year, and I feel like Tampa Bay can be good once again. But I kind of feel like, they could easily take a step back because, they lost a few pieces on defense because, they lost Devin White in free agency. And then they also traded Carlton Davis away. But they still got Baker Mayfield, who's a really good quarterback. And then, they got Todd Bowles, who's coaching the defense because they lost their offensive coordinator. And then, you got a good running back position. Rashad Weiss is probably a stud. They got a really good receiving core after bringing back Mike Evans. Cade Otton is a stud. They got Trey Palmer, who's a really good receiver. So the receiving core of the Bucs is really good. Now the offensive line is pretty good. The defensive line is pretty good because Vita Vea is a stud. Kalijah Cansey is a stud. I feel like Yaya is a stud. William Golson is a stud. The linebacking group is really good. Levante Davis is there. Randy Gregory is there. And then the secondary, they got Jamel Dean, who's a stud. Jordan Whitehead was a good move. Winfield was a good move. So I felt the defense, of Tampa Bay, they got good elements of their defense, but I don't even know how good they're going to be because I felt the Falcons probably might get better this year, despite them having a new coach in Raheem Morris. So, so I just kind of really think, I just kind of really think that the Atlanta Falcons, feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like they can definitely take a step back this year. We can see regression for this team, but I feel like Tampa Bay could be in a good spot to make the playoffs in this coming season. Number 16, I got Chicago Bears, and I got the Bears at 16 because I think the Bears. I feel like they have some upside because Caleb Williams got some upside because they traded Fields away. Now I feel like the Bears had the best offseason too because they added Keenan Allen and free. They traded for Keenan Allen to go along with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. So I feel like their receiving core has gotten stronger because they lost Darnell Mooney in free agency and they replaced him with Keenan Allen. And now the defense now the offensive line can get a lot better though, because they added DeAndre Swift in free agency to go along with Khalil Herbert, and then I feel like Matt Eberflus has something to work with. I feel like his defensive scheme is starting to work. Because I feel like the Bears defense they played a lot better at the end of the year, especially by adding Montez Sweat on the roster. Now I feel like they can definitely add another edge rusher because I don't know if Yannick Ngakwe is going to be back. The linebacking group is very strong. Um, the secondary did made improvement because they brought back Jalen Johnson. They also added Kevin Byron for agency. Um, they added Jonathan Owens, and then Tariq Stevenson and Tart and Brisker. I feel like they can be really good studs at the safety position. So I feel like I have a lot of questions on their defensive line outside of Montez Sweat, but their secondary is pretty strong. So I feel like the Bears could definitely be in a good position to at least win at least like 9 to 10 games this year. But I would not be surprised if they won the division. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so I think the Bears are being in a good spot to be a playoff position. Um Next team number 15, I have the Miami Dolphins. Um on the Miami Dolphins, I feel like they're gonna regress this year. I feel like they've lost some pieces on defense like Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Giegel. They've lost a few pieces. Tua, I feel like if he could stay healthy, he could be a good quarterback with this team. And then they got good elements of their offense now. Raheem Morris is a stud. Devon Achane is a stud at running back. The receiving core, I mean, they added OBJ in free agency. Tyreek Hill's a stud. Jalen Wild's a stud. They also added Jonnu Smith in free agency, which I really like. The offensive line, they lost. It's pretty strong because they also lost Robert Hunt in free agency. Um, Defense is still pretty good after losing their best players. Zach Sealer, he seemed like he's a stud. They added Tart in free agency. They also added Anthony Walker in free agency and Jordan Brooks. And David Long is still there. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are studs. I feel like they're coming off an injury, and I hope they can stay healthy. But I don't know if they're going to be the same player. Now the secondary, they lost Xavier Howard and they replaced him with Kendall Fuller. They also added Jordan Poyer in free agency. So yeah, so the Dolphins defense is pretty strong, but I feel like with them losing Vic Fangio was a big loss. They also got Anthony Reber as the new defensive coordinator, which I don't know how good the Dolphins defense will be. So I have questions about their defense, coming this season. All right, then next team number 14, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the reason why I got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 14 is because I feel like the Steelers, I feel like they're probably going to get better because they made the playoffs last year. They also got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at the quarterback position. I feel like Russell Wilson can definitely be. They said Russell Wilson is projected to be QB1, and I feel like Justin Fields, he's projected to be QB2. But they got some talent on offense. I mean, George Pickens is a stud at the wide receiver position. Um, Najee Harris is a good running back, and Jalen Warren kind of had a really good breakout season. The receiving core is kind of iffy because they traded Deontay Johnson away, and I don't know if Van Jefferson's a good number two, but the tight end is fine. But I feel like they can improve by adding another receiver. And then the offensive line, it's gotten a little better, but I don't know if it's good as it used to be. Now the defense, they got some studs on defense like Cameron Hayward. They got Dean Lowry. They got Larry Ogunjobi. Um, the line, I mean, they got Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt is there. Cole Holcomb is really good linebacker. They also added Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson. Um, so the Steelers got some good elements with their defensive line and linebackers. The secondary, they got Mika Fitzpatrick and they got Joey Porter, but also traded for Deontay Jackson and Demaze Casey is there. They also added Deshaun Elliott. So the Steelers got good elements of their defense, but they also got a new offensive coordinator and Arthur Smith, which I think is going to make the Steelers more competitive. So yeah, so I feel the Steelers can definitely be better than they were last year. So I say the Steelers, I say the Steelers can easily win like 9 to 10 games this year. It depends on how good Russell Wilson's going to be. So yeah, because I feel the Steelers could be in a tough division with the Browns, the Ravens, and the Browns, Ravens, and the Bengals. Because I feel the Bengals have gotten a lot better, the Ravens have gotten a lot better, and the Browns have gotten a lot better. So yeah, number 13, I got the Dallas Cowboys, and the reason why I got the Cowboys at 13 is because I feel like the Cowboys, they might regress because they've lost a few pieces and they really didn't sign a lot of good players. But I feel like they lost Tony Pollard in free agency and they replaced him with Ezekiel Elliott. So the running back room's a little iffy. Then the receiving core is still pretty good with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon, because I feel like Tolbert can be a really good number 3 after getting rid of Michael Gallup. The tight end is is good. The offensive line might get a little bit, might not be the same after losing Tyron Smith, but they did replace him with Tyler with a first rounder. Now, defensively, I feel like their defense can get a lot better, but I don't know if it will be the same because, they lost Dorrance Armstrong and they lost Dante Fowler in free agency, but they still got other pieces like Marcus Parsons a stud, DeMarcus Lawrence a stud, Mozzie Smith is coming off his first year. He can definitely step up to be a really good pass rusher. Osa is pretty good. They also got Nealon in the second round. Linebackers backing group's a little stuffed back. Now they added Eric Kendricks and they added Maris in the third round. Secondary is pretty strong, but they could lose Stephon Gilmore, but I don't think it's big of a loss because I feel like Trevon Diggs coming off injury. I don't know what he's gonna look like. But Deron Blank was really good. Like he was ranked the best corner. The safeties are really good, but they lost Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore, and they replaced them with a new offensive coordinator, which I don't know of. Then they replaced him with Mike Zimmer at the defensive spot. So yeah, so I felt the Cowboys, could definitely regress this year, but I feel like the Cowboys, I feel like that I really think Dallas Cowboys, they can be a lot better than they were last year. Like I can definitely see a spot where they could definitely regress, or they can definitely like win the division again. So yeah, so I don't really know how the Cowboys are going to compete with these good teams. So that's why I got the Cowboys ranked at 13. Number 12, I got the New York Jets. And I think the Jets, have definitely made a lot of improvements. Um, I think, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what he's going to look like coming off an injury. Um, I would like to say the the improvements they made, they got Brees Hall. I mean, Brees Hall, he's a stud at the running back position. They got some good elements. Garrett Wilson is a stud, and they also added Mike Williams to go along with him because Alan Lazard wasn't able to step up his role, but he's a number 2 at best. But I feel like he's a good number 3. They also added Corley through the draft, which I really like. The tight end is kind of iffy, but it's fine. Offensive line has gotten better by adding Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. And then, they lost Laken Thompson for agency, and they did revamp that. Now, defensive line is pretty strong. They traded Franklin Myers away, but it's still pretty strong because they added Kinlaw in free agency. They also traded for Reddick. So, yeah, and then the linebacking group is really good. And the secondary is pretty strong. So, the Jets got good elements of their defense and their offense. So, they got good talent around them. But the question is, can Solomon be able to turn around? Which I don't. That's the question. Could he do it? Which I don't really know. But we'll have to see about that. So I feel like the Jets can definitely be a better team than last year. But I feel like as long as Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, I feel like the Jets can definitely be a playoff team. So yeah. All right, number 11, I got the Buffalo Bills. And I got the Buffalo Bills at number 11 because I kind of really felt the Bills, I have a feeling that they might take a little step back this year because they've have definitely lost a lot of good players. They lost Gabe Davis for agency. They got rid of Jordan Poyer. They got rid of their offensive lineman due to cap space. And they lost their best corner in Tre'Davious White. They traded Stephon Diggs away. So yeah, the Bills had a lot going on, but they did replace some players by adding Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins in free agency. But they also added Claypool as well. And then they drafted a receiver in the second round in Keon Coleman, which I don't know how good he's going to be. The tight ends are fine. I mean, Dalton Kincaid had a really good rookie season. I feel like he can definitely step up to be a really good tight end one for this team. Now the offensive line is pretty strong. Even though the Bills lost some of their top weapons, I feel like they still got Josh Allen, which he can run around, he can make some plays and all that. And James Cook, I feel like he's a stud. He kind of had a breakout season last year. Now the offensive line is pretty strong, like I said. The defense, is still pretty strong because they brought back AJ and Panessa, and then they restructured Von Miller's contract. Now the linebacking position is really good, and the defensive line is good. The corner position is really good with Russell Douglas and Benford, and they also got Cole Bishop and added Mike Edwards. Hamplin's still there. We don't even know about Micah Hyde coming back, but Taylor Rapp came back, and Tyron Johnson came back as well. So I felt the Bills do have a lot of. So I kind of really felt that the Bills, they kind of really made a lot of moves though, but they kind of almost didn't have a good offseason. But I feel like they can still be the same team like they were last year. So I felt the Bills, and they still got Sean McDermott coaching the defense as well. So I felt the Bills, can definitely be a playoff team once again. But I don't really know how good they're going to be. Because I feel like the Jets have gotten better this season, but I think the Dolphins have gotten a little better this season. So yeah, we'll have to find out. All right, number 10, I got the Philadelphia Eagles, and the reason why I got the Eagles at 10 now, I got them ranked above the Cowboys for just a reasons because I felt the Eagles, kind of made a lot of improvements this offseason because they got rid of their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, and they also replaced them with Kellen Moore, and they also got Vic Fangio from Miami. But they added Kenny Pickett though, which I don't think he's a starter, but I think Jalen Hurts is still the starter. But you know what though, the Eagles added some good pieces on offense because they got Saquon Barkley from the Giants. They also got a really good receiving core because they added Parker, and then the offensive line is pretty strong, even though Jason Kelsey retired, and the defense, it's gotten a lot better because they added Bryce Huff from the Jets. And then they also, the linebacking group, they upgraded the linebacking position because, they added Devin White. And then the secondary has gotten a lot better because, they added Cooper Jardine and also Quinton Mitchell from the draft. So their secondary is pretty strong. They also added Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the Lions. They brought him back. So, yeah, I feel like the Eagles did made a lot of improvements, though. So I feel like the Eagles, we can definitely see them at least win at least like 10, 11, or 12 games this year. As long as their defense can play at a high level, I think the Eagles can definitely be better and can definitely have a chance for the NFC's crown. All right, next, number 9, I got the Cleveland Browns, and I got the Browns at number 9 because I feel like the Browns, have gotten a lot better this offseason because I feel like the receiving core has gotten a lot better since adding Jerry Jeudy to go along with Elijah Mitchell and Amari Cooper. The tight end position is really good. And the running back position with Nick Chubb, he's a stud. I don't know what he's going to look like coming off an injury. So, yeah, but I feel like Deshaun Watson, I feel like he's going to regress because I don't know if he's the same player because he's been dealing with some injuries. But they also added Jameis Winston because I feel like if Deshaun Watson's not ready by week 1, I feel like Jameis Winston can be the starter. But they also added Foreman. But the offensive line is really strong. The defense have gotten a little bit better because they added Jordan Hicks in free agency and Devin Bush to go along with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah to upgrade the linebacking position. But they brought back Zadarius Smith to go along with Zadarius Smith and Maurice Horst to go along with Myles Garrett. So I felt the defense can definitely get better because, they also added And then secondary is pretty strong because Denzel Ward's a stud, Jawan Thornhill's a stud, Greg Newsom's a stud. They got Grant DePelp. He's a really good stud at the safety position. But Martin Emerson, he could definitely step up with that role. So the Browns got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball because they still got Kevin Stefanski calling plays on offense and Jim Schwartz, still calling plays on defense. So yeah, because I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns were a Super Bowl contender, but I feel like the Browns did made improvements this year to get a lot better. I feel like they can definitely win at least 10 or 11 games because they made the playoffs last year, and even without Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, was balling out. So I like to see the Browns. So yeah, so I like the Browns to be a top team in the AFC. Number 8, I got the Los Angeles Rams, and I got the Rams at number 8 because I feel like the Rams, have gotten a lot better its offseason because they both served their secondary by adding Cameron Curl and Travis White to go along with the other young players in the secondary. And then, the defense, might not be the same as last year, but I feel like it can play better because, they lost Aaron Donald due to retirement. I feel like Kobe Turner's a really good pass rusher. I feel like he can definitely step up his role to be a really good defensive lineman. Bobby Brown is still there. The linebacker position, Ernest Jones, seems like he's a stud. Yeah, they added the offensive line kind of gotten better by adding Jonah Williams. Troy Reader is still there. Byron Young's still there. They also added a first rounder by adding Jared Verse. So yeah, they added Jonah Jackson in the first round, added him for agency, which made the offensive line look better. Now the receiving core is really good because Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp are studs. Tyler Higbee is there. Tutu Atwell still there. The running back position is still good with Kyler Williams. They added Jimmy Garoppolo in free agency. Now I feel like Matthew Stafford, kind of stay healthy last year. I feel like if he can stay healthy, he can definitely be a top quarterback in the NFL. And I felt the defense gotten a lot better, even though they lost on Raheem Morris. So yeah, I felt the Rams got good elements up there on both sides of the ball with their offense and defense. So I feel like this team can definitely turn into a contender. So that's what I like to see here. Number 7, I got the Green Bay Packers, and I got the Packers at number 7 because I feel like that the Packers, have gotten a lot better. And I feel like Jordan Love is going to be elite this year because basically though he improved by the end of the year with the offense playing better. Now they lost Aaron Jones to free agency, and they replaced him with Josh Jacobs to go along with AJ Dillon. Now the receiving core is gotten a lot better. It's pretty strong now because they added because I feel like they didn't target one because I feel like Christian Watson. I feel like he can be a really good receiver if he can stay healthy. Jaden Reed feel like he's gonna be a stud. He was a leading receiver. He was a number 1 receiver. And then they got Wicks and Romeo Dobbs as well. The tight ends are really good with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. The offensive line kind of like gotten a lot better because they added Andre Diller because they lost David Bakhtiari and then they replaced him with Andre Diller. On the defense, they still got some talent there, but they lost Devondre Campbell. So I feel like Lucas Mez and enter his second year. And then I felt the secondary did make improvements because they added Buller through the draft, and they also added McKinney in free agency. So the defense is still good, but I don't know Joe Barry. But I don't really know how good the Packers defense will be because Joe Barry is really not a good defensive coordinator. But you still got Matt LaFleur calling plays on the offensive side. So yeah, so I believe Green Bay will be a contender in the NFC next year. So that's why I got them at number 7. Number 6, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I got the Ravens in number 6 because I think the Ravens, I've had the Ravens at number six. I felt the Ravens are like the sixth best team in the NFL because they made improvements. Now they got rid. Now they also added Derrick Henry, which that was a really good move for them. And I feel like he's an upgrade over J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Now the receiving core, it's okay, but they got rid of OBJ. Zay Flowers is had a really good rookie season. I feel like he can definitely step up to be a number one wide receiver. Rashad Bateman is kind of a really good number two, number three. They also got Mark Andrews at the tight end position. Isaiah Likely is there. Hardy is there. The offensive line is pretty good. But I feel like if they may regress because they lost Morgan Moses and Ronnie Stanley's still there. And then the defense, they brought back Justin Monamuke, and they lost. They lost a few pieces. I feel like, Michael Pierce still there. I feel like they can improve their defensive line a little bit. The linebacking group is still pretty good. King Always a stud. Roquan Smith a stud. They still got Kyle Van Noy, but they lost Bowser in free agency. And then the secondary is really strong by adding Nate Wiggins in the draft to go along with Marlon Humphrey. Kyle Hamilton's a stud. Marcus Williams is still there. So the Ravens got good elements of their roster. So, I feel like the Ravens can definitely have a chance to be a Super Bowl contender this year. So, yeah. Because I like to see the Ravens contend with anybody. So, yeah. So, I got the Ravens at number 6. Number 5, I got the Detroit Lions. The Lions did made improvements. I feel like they gotten a lot better this offseason because, they added Carlton Davis and they also got Arnold in the first round to upgrade the corner position. So I feel like their corner position got a lot better. And then they also added DJ Reader in free agency to go along with Aiden Hutchinson. So, yeah. So I felt the Lions' defensive line got a lot better. The linebacking group is really good. Derek Barnes is a stud. James Houston is really good. The offensive line is pretty strong already. And they got a really good receiving core. They have a really good running back position. I feel like and they got a good quarterback in Jared Goff. I feel like Jared Goff is going to be a stud at the quarterback position. And then also the Lions, they brought back their coaching staff. They brought back Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, which that's huge for them. So, yeah. So I feel like the Lions secondary has gotten a lot better this year. So I feel like that, the Lions have a good chance, to be in the Super Bowl conversation. So, yeah. Because, they failed to make the Super Bowl last year. But I feel like this is a chance. And I think they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl this year. Number 4, I got the Cincinnati Bengals. I got the Bengals at number 4 because I feel like that the Cincinnati Bengals, I feel like if Joe Burrow can stay healthy, I feel like he can definitely be a top quarterback in the NFL. Because, he missed the rest of the season due to an injury, but they still got good weapons on offense. Like Jamar Chase is a stud, T. Higgins is a stud. They also added Mike Gesicki in free agency. They lost Joe Mixon for agency, and they also replaced him with Zach Moss. So I felt the Bengals could look a little bit different because there was a lot going on because T. Higgins wants out and now Trey Henderson wants out. But I feel like the offensive line has gotten a lot better by adding Trent Brown, and Alex Kappa is still there. They still got pieces on the offensive line. The defense is pretty darn good. Now, we don't know if Trey Henderson's coming back, but I regret he is. Now, they lost DJ Reader and they replaced him with Sheldon Rankins. And then the linebacking group is so good. The secondary is pretty strong because they added Geno Stone and they brought back Von Bell. And they still got Big Lou coaching the defense. And Zach Taylor is still coaching the offense even though they lost Brian Callahan. So, yeah, I think the Bengals are in spot for a breakout season this year. I feel like if Joe Burrow can stay healthy, I feel like the Bengals can definitely be a contender. So I feel like I would like to see the Bengals be back in the AFC Championship conversation. That's where I would like to see. Now, number three, I got the Houston Texans. Now, I got the Texans at number three, um, because I kind of really feel like that, the Texans, have definitely had a good offseason because, they added Stephon Diggs to go along with Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Noah Brown. And I feel like the receiving core has gotten a lot better. Um, Dalton Schultz is still there. They also added Joe Mixon in free agency to go along with they added Joe Mixon in free agency to go along with because they lost Devin Singletary and they also added Joe Mixon. So I felt the Texans got good elements of their offense. Now their offensive line is pretty good. The defense is definitely did made improvements because they lost Jonathan Greener and they replaced him with Daniil Hunter to go along with Will Anderson. So yeah. So I feel like their defense can definitely be fun to watch. Now the linebacking group is because they lost Malik Collins as well, and the linebacking group is really good with Christian Harris and company and Z Leger is really good. Secondary is pretty strong. It's pretty young, but it's getting better. They still got Jimmy Ward and Derek Stinley's a stud. Patriots come off a rookie season. I think he can be a really good safety. They added C.J. Henderson, which I really like. So yeah, and they also added Jeff Okuda as well. So I feel like the Texans, they brought bringing back Bobby Slow was huge for them, and they still got D'Amico Ryan's coaching the defense as well. So yeah, I feel like, and they got a good quarterback in C.J. Stroud, which was going to be a star. So yeah, I feel like the Texans are post for a breakout season this year, and I believe they can definitely be in the AFC Championship or Super Bowl conversation where I like to see. Now, number two, I got the 49ers, and I feel like the 49ers are the second best team. They could easily be the first best team because I feel like, the Niners, they got the best head coach. They got a really good quarterback in Purdy. They got a great receiving core. They got a good running back room. They have a good offensive line. They have a really good defense, especially a really good secondary. So they got good elements on both sides of the ball. So I feel like the Niners, I feel like there's a chance I think the 49ers can get over the hump this year because they wasn't able to do it last year, but I feel like this is a year I think they can do it. And I feel like Brock Purdy is supposed for a breakout season. I feel like he can definitely easily be ranked to be a top five quarterback, which I can definitely see that. Because, they also made improvements by adding Javondre Campbell in free agency, and they lost Chase Young and Devon Kinlaw in free agency as well. And then I feel like and I feel like that the receiving core has gotten better because they added Ricky Pearsall in the first round. So yeah, so I feel like the Niners, are post for a Super Bowl contender. Then the first best team is the Kansas City Chiefs, and I got the Chiefs ranked at number one because I feel like that the Chiefs, are the best team in the NFL because they got a really good quarterback, they got a really good coaching staff. Isaiah Pacheco's a stud. They got Jared McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. Now the receiving core has definitely improved because they added Marquise Brown in free agency. They added Xavier Worthy through the draft. Rasheed Rice, he had a good rookie season. I feel like he can definitely step up to be a really good wide receiver. The tight end position is really good. Um, the offensive line is pretty strong. The defense is pretty good. And I feel like the secondary can improve at another corner position after losing Snead. So yeah, they can look at another safety as well. So I've heard the Chiefs got really good elements of their team, and they won the Super Bowl two straight times. So yeah, so I just kind of really felt the Chiefs, are just too good because I felt the reason why they're ranked at number one for a reason because I felt the Chiefs are the best team in the league, and the Chiefs, have a really good opportunity that they can beat anyone. I mean, any team can really beat them. So yeah, so I got the Chiefs as the best team coming into this year. Well, those are all my power rankings for 2024 for the NFL. So hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you disagree with me, just let me know in the comments section below what you guys think. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This is Emmanuel Jones from Big Fan. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.